When they're going to leave this space and they're going to encounter places where people are going to judge them from how they're talking, the languages they speak, the way they look, the religion that they practice, right? I have a lot of Muslim students. And knowing that, like being a Black woman and knowing how that feels, I feel like I'm better prepared. And that's why to equip them and empower them. And that's really why I spend so much time saying, you can do this now. I'm going to tell you right now, because I know the world is kind of like sandpaper, and it just slowly, chips away at you.
Oh yeah, I don't think people really truly understand like how much teachers we love what we do. We love children. Like we have a natural, genuine love for children, and there's
Yeah.
nothing like it.
Right.
There's nothing like you
Mm-hmm.
know inspiring a little mind and then seeing
Right.
all of that, the light bulb come together. There's no feeling like that in the world.
My passion is letting kids know that as they are, again, so much of life, even adults, and not to get too cerebral, but even adults, we always are thinking oh, I'll be happy when I have that car. I'll be happy when I buy a house. I'll be happy when I lose this weight. I'll be happy when I find this partner. And then your life is in between those times that you're yearning and you're wishing and you're desiring these things. You're still living right now. And so for the kids, I don't want them to just be like, okay, I could change the world when I get older.
Right,
I can
good.
change it
Yeah.
right now.
So I have a question. Did your students look like you?
Yes, mostly.
Okay.
Again,
Mostly.
I taught for 14 years, so
Mhm.
mostly. When I
Okay.
started in my hometown in Newark, absolutely, probably 100% African American. Then I
Okay.
came to New York, and I got a little bit more
Mhm.
diversity. So and it was very eye-opening for me. It
Okay.
helped me gain a lot of empathy. It helped me sharpen my tools as a
Mhm.
teacher, because I had now students who were, I had a lot of Chinese students. I
Mhm.
had a lot of students that were Bengali. I had a large Latinx population. I had a lot of students who were um, either second generation or third generation, but then a lot of students who were newcomers, brand new to America.
Mhm.
And watching them navigate the space, watching the other students embrace them, and being really sensitive to their culture. So the ways in which they learned, the ways
Mhm.
in which they accept praise, the ways in which they are disciplined, the ways in which they like to share and express themselves, just being really open to that and sensitive to that, and alerting our classmates, right? Maybe this will work when you're partners with this person, but this person has a different need. How can we help navigate those needs?
When you were primarily working in a community that was primarily African American, like
Yeah.
how did having Miss Izzy as their teacher, work to benefit those students?
Um,
Because I see your shirt, Black Teachers Matter. So let's talk about it.
Numbers wise, when you look at statistics and the
Yeah.
data, Black teachers matter. Like
Yeah.
all students benefit from having teachers of color, whether
Yeah.
they are students of color themselves or white students.
Yeah.
The data shows that all students benefit and learn more from teachers of color than other teachers. So I just want to put that out there.
Mhm.
But for myself, I think it's such an interesting question because, again, I worked in two different places and I worked at two different times of my life. So I was a brand
Oh, okay.
new teacher
Okay.
when I was working in my hometown, where all the kids, again, most of my class, like 99% were African American. But I think that the benefit from having me, a Black teacher in that community, was I just can't separate it from the fact that I was also from the community. Like that was my home, and I was from the community, and I was with my people. And so
So talk about how that plays a role, because that is important.
yeah, I grew up there. I worked at the school my grandmother went to when she was a kid. That was my very first job teaching. And so when you look at you ever looked at the Courageous Conversation, like compass, and they're like, "Are you in your feelings?" Like I was very much in my feelings.
I'm always in my feelings.
I was very much
But
in my
it's hard not to be because of your lived experiences. So
yeah.
I am in tune enough to know that I'm in my feelings because of my
Yeah.
lived experiences. But
Right. So I was
yeah.
like, this is my home and these are my people and these children and their families. Like I just felt very connected to them. And
Mhm.
so not that I don't feel that when I, left, but just very much then. And especially being a young teacher and a new teacher, very hungry and super idealistic about what teaching is and what the world is. But because it was my home, I just felt very much invested in making that not just the class and the students better learners, but just better people. Like even to this day, again, 14 years ago, those students were 6 years old and now they're 20 and they're reaching out to me. And some of them connect on social media, not too much. I try not to do that with kids, but they're big kids now. And they remember. I can't believe how much they remember. So when you talk about the impact, like I'm like, these are little kids, and I was first year teacher. But one of my students, she now goes to Rutgers University. I went to Rutgers University, and she told me, like, I'm going to Rutgers because I remember you went to Rutgers too. And
Oh,
so,
wow.
yeah, those types
Yeah.
of things happen, and I'm just
You know what?
Mhm.
As I was like preparing, for this conversation, and I'm glad you mentioned like the statistics around like, African American teachers. One of the things
Yeah.
that, I read in this, it was in a recent article from last year. Let me put it up. Oh, it said in Edutopia from an article in 2021. So it was just a few months ago.
Mhm.
It said that if students have an African American teacher just one of those years in their primary years, they're 13%. They're 13% more likely to enroll in college, and 32% more likely if they have an opportunity to have instruction from a Black teacher twice within those primary years. So it's interesting, like that, to
Yeah.
hear that fact kind of come to life.
Whenever you're teaching, you're always looking for entry points, because I always say our students, they don't lack brilliance. It may be something getting in the way. You just need to find an entry point and to making connections with them. And so the entry points were kind of already there because I'm of the community. They're from the same community. And so we kind of shared a similar, I wouldn't say backstory because all the kids are different and they bring different narratives with them. But we had a lot of similarities.
What was the influence on even in your diverse classroom, of having Miss Izzy,
Yeah.
Black teacher as their instructor?
I'm remembering, so the story that immediately comes to my mind, which is not an instructional piece, but it was one of my students. She was Bengali. We had completely different hair. Like, I'm a Black woman. I change my hair a lot. A lot of times I wear braids and twists and things like that. But she has very straight hair, and she would braid her hair. And her mother said to me when she picked her up one day, she goes, she wants her hair like you. She want to look like you. And she wants to, she talk about you all the time. She wants to look like you. She said, do my hair like Miss Tauheed. And I just was like, wow. Sometimes you don't even know the impact that you have on students. I just thought to myself, that was a moment of just conscious, like, these students are really watching everything that I do, and it's having an impact on them. The way they talk, sometimes they'll say to each other, child. And I say, oh my gosh, we all get that got that from me. But then also the positive things that I say, like I try to talk affirmations into my children all the time. And I just really try to be conscious of when I'm leaning in and when I have to step back and letting them grow and develop. And I think that as Black women, but I don't want to just, take it to Black women because the Black male teachers are doing their things too, but speaking for myself, right, as a Black woman and knowing that I'm different, right, knowing that these students right now, this class is a safe space, but knowing they're going to leave this space and they're going to encounter places where people are going to judge them from how they're talking, the languages they speak, the way they look, the religion that they practice, right? I have a lot of Muslim students. And knowing that, like being a Black woman and knowing how that feels, I feel like I'm better prepared. And that's why to equip them and empower them. And that's really why I spend so much time saying, you can do this now. I'm going to tell you right now, like, because I know the world is kind of like sandpaper and it just slowly, chips away at you. I'm going to like build you up and build you tough, because I know when you go out there, this is going to happen. But having that time and having a teacher that's aware, it really makes a difference and builds that confidence, because I can see, my students as they get older, a lot of times they still keep that strength. They will say to me, like, I remember you said that. I remember we read this book. I remember you told me this thing was going to happen. Sometimes I tell them, tuck it away. I go, I'm going to tell you this lesson. Tuck it in the back of your brain so when you get older, pull it out again, because I feel like we can kind of see and navigate a world that they're not yet conscious that they're going to encounter.
What do you do in your admin role to support teachers with that learning?
Like, my heart's wish for teachers and teacher training programs and professional development is for them to please tap into the funds of knowledge that people bring with them from their cultures. Like, we're talking about Black women. I've learned so much, if not everything, that I learned about teaching from Black women. But it's such an absence in teacher training programs, all this research and psychologists and theory that they bring to us. Hardly ever are from Black scholars. And then also who they think of as Black scholars and Black researchers. We have a culture of learning. We have a way of teaching that happens outside of school. And so I really hope to, and I hope that I do this in my teacher development, bring those things and bring those elements into the way I train teachers, the way I lead, and just a lot of that is affirming what is already in you. So,
okay, now you have to explain one thing to me.
Yes.
You have a hashtag on your Twitter profile that I need an explanation for.
If it's trap pedagogy,
yes, I need to know. Now, I have been to trap karaoke and I love it, but I have never heard of trap pedagogy. So I need you to explain that to me.
I'm going to say it's still in development. It's still in development. It's from me and my friend Lamar, Timmons Long. I follow him on Twitter too, if he's there. Follow Lamar. And it goes a lot into what I said about funds of knowledge. Like, him and I were both children of the 90s. We love Mary J. We love hip hop culture. We are the teachers that pull up to work playing trap music, hype ourselves up, and get ready to go into the classroom. And so thinking about, again, the things that you do outside of work that you can bring into your classroom, like what can you do? How could you lean into, and trap music is catchy, right? How can you lean into the things that you know to have a catchy classroom, to have a classroom where kids are vibing, right? Kids are in tune, kids are really like engaged in the learning. And that's the kind of pedagogy that we wish to have in our classroom. Again, it's not yet developed, but these are the kind of conversations that I have with my teacher friends. We're the nerdy teachers that talk about teaching sometimes too much outside of work.
If you were to give 3 words to describe or to, demonstrate the power or describe the power of a black teacher, what 3 words would you use?
I would say transformative.
Okay, good word.
Black teachers are transformative, that you will leave them better than the way you entered before you met them. I would say love. That's a big one for me, that Black teachers exude love. We love our students. Brilliant. I think Black teachers are brilliant. And again, in so many ways.
Amen.
Yeah. The different sources of knowledge that we have, it knows no bounds.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Islah Tauheed, and I'm an educator in the Bronx, New York. Every day, I work towards creating change by creating safe spaces for students and teachers to let their guards down and express their true selves.